marks the start of Hamilton County Invasive Species Awareness Week, and joining us now to talk more about the events marking the occasion is Claire Lane. She's an urban conservationist for the Hamilton County Soil and Water Conservation District. Hey, Claire.
Hi.
Let's start by explaining in the simplest terms what an invasive species is.
Yeah, so invasive species are non-native, so they're not originally from this area, and their introduction to our environment, it causes damage to our economy, the environment, or human health. So there's a lot of different ways that they can have a lot of impacts, whether it's just to nature or to the way we do business, or even to our health and well-being.
So what are our biggest problem species in Indiana?
Yeah, so there are a lot, unfortunately. Some of the major ones we've been focusing on would be a common one is the calorie pear, which is a lot of different species, actually. Cultivars like Bradford or Aristocrat, Cleveland Select, those are all different cultivars, but we all group them under the name of calorie pear. So it's those trees that just had pretty white blooms a few weeks ago. They actually smell, though, pretty bad whenever they bloom out in the spring, and they're really weak branched. So they were planted and are still planted as landscape trees in a lot of our home community developments. But we have found since then that they're able to cross-pollinate each other and hybridize. And pretty much any area in the county that's not mowed, they're really easily able to infiltrate and start growing and grow really fast and kind of take over and dominate roadsides and woodland areas and cause a lot of problems. So that's a pretty bad one we're dealing with. Other really common ones would be Asian bush honeysuckle, the shrub that's the first thing that leaves out green in the spring. It kind of really opens up your eyes to how impactful the problem is whenever you look around and it's all you see. It can be really overwhelming because there's so much of it. And it's another one that's spread, has pretty red berries that's spread by birds all around the county. And because it leaves out so much earlier than our native species in the spring, it shades out everything else in our woodland understories and causes a lot of problems.
Well, yeah,
unfortunately, I could go on and on.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, you guys are offering a webinar next week for anybody who's interested in learning more. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so that's a great kind of intro just to get people started. If you're not quite sure what invasive species are or what issues they cause or what you can do, it's kind of just a primer to get people a little better understood on the impacts. So on Tuesday night, we're going to be offering a free webinar. It's just going to be about an hour, maybe a little less. We're going to go over the basics of invasive species, why natives are such a great alternative, and touch on a lot of different resources that are available to county residents to manage invasive species on their properties.
Another thing that you have going on next week is a number of weed wrangles. Tell us about those and why they're so important.
Yeah, so weed wrangles are a really fun educational opportunity, but also time to get out with friends and neighbors and improve some of our parks and natural areas that are being impacted by invasive species. So they're basically just volunteer work days, and they're led by experts. So you can register and go out to, these nearby park spaces you love and get a little education about how to manage invasive species, and then do some work of actually being out in the field and helping eradicate some of them. So it's a great way to really make an impact on parks properties mostly, but learn and build community too.
So when I think of a weed, I'm thinking of a dandelion, but these are probably pretty intensive weed wrangles because you're talking about trees and bushes that are invasive species, correct?
Yep. So some of the weed wrangles are more focused on an invasive called garlic mustard, which is a small plant that you can just weed by hand. But then a lot of them are focusing during the awareness week on honeysuckle or some bigger shrubs. So there's all different kinds of, treatment methods. Sometimes we'll be using puller bars, which we have in our tool loan program, that help pull the whole shrub out by the root. Or sometimes they do what's called cut stump treatment, where you cut off the taller part of the shrub and then apply a chemical herbicide right to the stump to help kill it. So there's all these different strategies and different weed wrangles we'll be kind of attacking different species with different treatment and control methods. So they're all going to be a little different, but they're all over the county. And we have 3 during the awareness week. We've already had multiple, and then there's more throughout the rest of the year too. So that's not something that's just during the awareness week, but it's something people could continually be involved with.
Another new thing you guys are rolling out this spring is these boot brushing stations. Tell us about those, why they're important.
Yeah, so we all like to go out and go for walks, or maybe take our dogs out on a hike in our parks and natural areas. And it's easy to kind of overlook that, especially if it's muddy, if we might have some mud or soil on our boots, and maybe we walked through a patch of garlic mustard or some invasive seeds, and you might not even notice that some are stuck in the mud or stuck in your boots. And if you maybe, picked up some seed at Cool Creek, and then you are going to go over to Ritchie Woods, you could actually be part of the problem of transporting invasive seeds to multiple parks. So the idea behind the boot brush stations, they'll be located at trailheads, and there's signage as well. But before you go into the trail and when you come out, we just ask that you use them to wipe the dirt or debris and seeds off of your boots, so that way you're not tracking anything in or tracking anything out, so we can kind of stop the spread across the county.
And you were telling me that residents can request these boot brushes at area parks?
Yeah, so it's a new initiative. We just launched our very first one. It's at the trailhead at Cool Creek Park within the county park system. So I'd invite everyone to go check that one out. But we're doing at least 10 more at different trails all across the county. So we're kind of determining right now where those are going to be located. So if people think they know of a good parks location to have a boot brush station, they could connect with the manager of that park property. And there's a form on our website where the property manager can fill it out and request a boot brush station, and hopefully get those out to people. And then we also have here in our office at the Soil and Water Conservation District, and hopefully out in the community more, we have some handheld boot brushes. It's just a little brush that you can use right in your hand and maybe keep in your trunk, or keep in your hiking bag. So if there's not a boot brush station there, you can still have a brush, or maybe just one from home, to make sure you clean your boots before and after your hikes.
So if folks want to learn more about the boot brushes, or they have an interest in doing one of these weed wrangles, where do they need to go to get more information?
Yeah, everything is on the Hamilton County Invasives Partnership website, which is hcinvasives.org. There's a lot of great info about invasive species, native alternatives, natives in general, and all the exciting stuff for our first ever Invasive Species Awareness Week is on there.
Well, congratulations and good luck this week.